Remember when Batwoman was on break for the holiday season? Good times. I had weeks where I didn't have to think about this show at all. And I was so much happier then. I got to lose all my stress, do videos about things I liked for a change. It was glorious. But in a way, in a very, very sick way, that little vacation was also an albatross. Because when you're forced to watch this raging trash fire every single week, you kind of become desensitized to it. I know it sounds nuts, but you build up a tolerance. Kind of like how your skin will callous over if you poke at it long enough. And the show will still make you want to blow your brains out, but eventually you learn to suffer through it. But when you go a few weeks without watching it, a few wonderful, restful, pain-free weeks where you're not forced to think about it, it is stunning how quickly you lose that tolerance you built up. How quickly you forget just how truly, truly wretched on every conceivable level this show is. When I booted up my DVR to watch this episode, I thought I knew. I thought I remembered how bad it was. I thought I was prepared for it. But this was whiplash, the likes of which I haven't felt since the last time Batwoman came back from hiatus. My God, I'm lucky my head is still attached to my neck. This was so fucking dumb, you guys have no idea. If anyone out there is still wondering why the CW is up for sale due to never making a profit in close to 2 decades, watch this episode. That'll clear things up. I don't want to be here a second longer than I have to. Just hit the intro, and let's return, God help me, to Batwoman. The episode begins with a flashback to 10 years ago where Montoya and her partner, a white male so you know what's about to happen to him, arrive at some place overrun with plants looking for poison ivy. Poor Bridget Regan, who is way too good for this show by the way, emerges from this wall of plants, and it's kind of like that Simpsons meme where Homer melts in and out of the hedges like the T-1000 to confront Ned Flanders. Anyway, the partner urges Montoya to take the shot on account of poison ivy being a supervillain and all, and it's not clear if the police are authorized to use lethal force like that against people like this, but since when has that ever mattered on this show? Montoya just can't do it, so the partner tries to take the shot, but is stopped when Ivy impales him with a plant vine. I'm certainly no botanist, so beats me if this is a thing that can happen, but whatever. It looks laughable, but what else is new? The partner falls to the ground useless, as only white people can. Montoya asks Ivy why she's doing this, and Ivy says, because someone has to care. Right after she nearly murdered a police officer. Subtle. Very subtle. Back in the present, oh my God, this scene. Oh my God. We find Alice and Mary in a hotel room. They've gone on some big shopping spree and there's bags everywhere, so I guess they paid for all this stuff instead of stealing it like supervillains are wont to do, because they may be evil, but at least they care about stimulating the local economy? They're painting each other's nails, and Alice doesn't like the color Mary gave her, but tries to avoid saying that so she won't hurt Mary's feelings. Jesus Christ, we're barely 3 minutes in. The hotel staff comes in and address Mary by her real name. Mary gave them her real name when they checked in. Now bear in mind, Montoya knows about Mary being dangerous and evil. And even though Team Batwoman don't have access to the Bat computer right now, Montoya should still have access to the police department. She's not a cop anymore, but she's working for the mayor, so she ought to be able to walk into the GCPD and put out an alert if Mary's name pops up in some computer system or database somewhere. right? Wrong! You might think that would be the case, but that would imply that Montoya gives one single shit about justice or preserving the peace or keeping innocent people safe, which, as we find out in this episode, she doesn't. She toys with that stuff occasionally, but at the end of the day, we know what she's really about. So even though she knows that Mary is evil and has the power of poison ivy, which she could be doing all manner of crazy shit with, even though telling the authorities and putting out an APB on Mary would absolutely have led to Mary being found, given how little Mary seems to care about staying hidden, Montoya has apparently kept this information to herself. We're just getting started here, guys. So the staff is paying them a visit because they've racked up an $8,000 bill and Mary's credit cards have all been frozen by Luke. That Mary actually tried paying with her credit cards despite not wanting to be found by Team Batwoman or the police shows you the level of intelligence we're dealing with here. The hotel manager threatens to call the cops if they won't leave, not because he recognized Alice, the most infamous killer in the city, mind you, so Mary mind controls the staff into thinking it's all good. Then she starts whining and complaining about being the Bat Mission of the Week because even though she's a villain now, Mary still has to be a vapid, self-obsessed twat. And Alice's advice to her new BFF is that she should make her friends hate her so much that they want to give up on her. That might work with someone else, but this is Mary we're talking about. If being her normal self for the last 2.5 seasons didn't get her friends to hate her enough to give up on her, then I think she's pretty bulletproof. And Alice throws in a little pot shot at Kate here, calling her a so-called family member. The one redeeming thing about this nonsense. But take that away and holy shit, the amount of stupid they packed into this scene is mind-boggling. Mary booked them a hotel room under her real name. How in the bluest of blue has no one found them? I guess because that would require some detective work, and why on earth would we be watching a Batman-related show expecting something like that? Cut to Montoya at the illegal underground abortion clinic. There's plants all over the place. She sees a flower that reminds her of something. Cue another flashback where she's arguing with Pam Isley because her partner lost a kidney and almost died, and Pam's trying to make it up to her with flowers. Sorry, Pam, but flowers just aren't gonna cut it. If you're apologizing for attempted murder, you're gonna need chocolate too. They go back and forth about how Pam has been breaking the law and turned into a plant-obsessed lunatic, which has Renee sort of upset, but not enough to actually do anything about it. In fact, it looks like they've been living together this whole time, and Renee has just been allowing this to go on despite the attempted murder and God knows what else. So in case you were wondering what kind of a cop Montoya was, the answer is a shit one. So Pam virtue signals about the environment. She's planning to leave, and Renee can't follow her, but wants her to stay and be the person she fell in love with, in which case I guess all those crimes Pam's been committing would just be bygones. But Pam says that girl is gone, replaced by a person who can stand up for herself and for the things that can't. Which means exactly nothing to us. We have no context for any of this, so I'm assuming that before all this happened, Pam was a person who couldn't stand up for herself. Sure would have been helpful if we'd seen that. It might have made her more sympathetic or give us some indication of what their relationship was like before Pam went insane, so we might understand why Montoya's willing to flush all that protect and serve stuff down the toilet and endanger the lives of everyone in Gotham if only her girlfriend won't break up with her. Team Batwoman's working out of Montoya's office now, and things are a little bit tense. Ryan's copping an attitude, which she claims is because she's locked out of the Batcave, but because this is the CW, it's really because the girl she likes is f***ing someone else. That being the girl who's blackmailing Ryan. In a moment of sanity that's exceptionally rare for these characters, Montoya tells Ryan to cut the shit, because Ryan could have had Marcus arrested, but she didn't because he's family, and she underestimated Mary because Mary's her friend. So if Ryan's up shit creek right now, it's kind of her own damn fault. Preach! And yeah, Montoya definitely played a part in all that too, but one thing at a time. Ryan's response to this is so baffling, even the Bruce Wayne from another another universe that Kate killed would be rolling in his grave right now. What was I supposed to do? Pummel Mary with batarangs? Throw Marcus in Arkham for a brain injury that isn't even his fault? Well, Mary is currently evil, insane, and has the power to threaten the lives of countless people, and Marcus is an amoral sociopath, has committed several murders that you know of, and could wreak all sorts of havoc as the CEO of Wayne Enterprises. So yes, Ryan, doing what's necessary to stop the bad people from doing bad things is exactly what you should have f***ing done! Montoya understands the position Ryan's in and tells them how she eventually had to choose between Pam and her obligation to the city, so she sold her soul to Batman. Leave it to these writers to equate doing the right thing with selling your soul. Christ, these people are deranged. So, get this. Batman created a serum that could mimic the process a plant goes through when it's denied water and sunlight, and a gizmo that can both inject it and is also the only way to extract it. Now, Montoya still has this gizmo, and they can use the serum on Mary, but Batman only made one dose of the serum and seemingly kept no record of the formula because contingencies are for losers, and that one dose is currently in Pamela Isley's body. So this means they now have to find Pam and suck the serum out of her so they can inject it into Mary, and if your brain hurts right now, just imagine how I feel. Montoya guesses that Pam will not simply wake up upon having the desiccation juice sucked out of her, because she will have been unconscious for 10 years without water at that point, somehow not dying of dehydration or starvation or anything else. Don't think about it too much. She assumes that Pam will just stay unconscious unless she has contact with water or sunlight. Mind you, Montoya doesn't actually know any of this for sure, but that's the story, so f*** it. Ryan's totally against doing this to Mary because Mary hating them is much, much worse than Mary putting innocent people in danger as far as Ryan's concerned, but she doesn't have any better ideas, and the others are in agreement that this is their only option, so that's what they're going with. So now they have to find Pam Isley, and Bruce may have written where he hid her in his journals, which not a single member of Team Batwoman have read in 2.5 seasons, why am I not surprised, so they need to get into the Batcave. But that's going to be tricky because Marcus has done what these dingbats never thought to do in 3 fucking years. Installed security measures in the Wayne building. What a concept, right? Also, Montoya's just now learning that Bruce Wayne was Batman, because why would Team Batwoman think to keep a lid on that? God, this show is stupid. Then Ryan gets a phone call from Marcus, and I'm so distracted by his wardrobe here. He's wearing some kind of white jacket with sequins. Kind of looks like something Michael Jackson might wear if Michael Jackson was a pimp. Anyway, not much is said here. Marcus just points out what a goddamn idiot Ryan was for not having him arrested when she had the chance, and yeah, he's not wrong about that. Also, some guy mentions something to him about a party. Ryan overhears this, so she decides to crash said party. Do you have goosebumps? I know I do. The party is at the Wayne building. And everyone at the party is wearing a mask. No reason why, that's just what needs to happen for the story to work. Ryan, Luke, and Sophie get in by impersonating people on the guest list, and they're each given a playing card. The whole party has this big playing card theme, in case there was even one person not buying into the whole Black Joker thing yet. So Marcus makes this big speech about how at his first boardroom meeting, he was surrounded by people who had the audacity to think he might not be the best person to lead this company. Why? Because of the sociopathy and the murders and the corporate espionage and stuff? What a bunch of snowflakes. So Marcus fired all those people, and I guess this party is meant to be some kind of bizarre recruitment drive. So Marcus pulls out a playing card, and the guy with the corresponding card gets up on the stage with him, puts his hands on a table. Marcus starts asking him up questions that are so on the nose even Jim Carrey's Riddler seems subtle by comparison. The guy answers wrong, so Marcus electrocutes him. He falls over, and maybe he's dead, maybe not, we don't find out. And I guess Marcus is just assuming that none of the guests are gonna call the police at this point, or tweet about it, or tell literally anyone what happened, and apparently they don't. Marcus pulls another card, Ryan switches cards with the woman who has it so she gets up there, and even though Ryan's mask only covers her eyes, and a fucking blind person could tell it's her, Marcus somehow doesn't recognize her. Because Marcus is a goddamn idiot. And the writers think we are too. Ryan's mask is tricked out with science they need to get Marcus's retinal scan so they can access Bruce's office. Now, does that seem like an awful lot of work when Batwoman could just get into the office through the window instead? Yes it does. So she stalls for a minute, gets the retinal scan, then walks away, leaving Marcus standing there like a chump. Then Ryan, Sophie, and Montoya, who appeared out of fucking nowhere, ride up in the elevator, leaving Luke at the party, even though there's absolutely no fucking reason why he would still need to be there, except that if he doesn't stay there, the story can't happen. And apparently this is a very slow elevator, so Ryan has the chance to continue copping an attitude about Sophie and Montoya being DTS. Because that's the important thing to be focused on right now. Remember in the last episode when Ryan found out about that, but kept things professional because they had serious shit to deal with at the time? Yeah, that's not a thing anymore. So Ryan will take Montoya's help for now, but once they get to the other side of this, she wants her name and Batwoman's name out of Montoya's mouth, assuming Montoya's mouth doesn't have something of Sophie's in it. But Renee points out that their arrangement isn't done because the Joker's joy buzzer is still unaccounted for. And that's the first time we're hearing about that, but alright. And Ryan is all, detective work. We need Alice to find that shit. And Alice was Sophie's responsibility, which she ditched so she could do some scissoring. And yeah, that was fucking stupid, but it's not even the first time it's happened on this show, so if the writers wanted to start calling people out for it, they missed that window by about 2 seasons. So they step off the elevator and walk into the office to find a whole bunch of thugs there playing pool. And even though the thugs outnumber these 90-pound waifs about 3-1, the women obliterate them so quickly and so easily the fight might as well not have even happened. There was no point to it at all, it was just there so the women could look cool and the episode could have a fight scene. If the writer's goal was to make action boring, congratulations, that's the one thing you jackasses actually succeeded at this week. Cut back to the party where Mary walks in. Ryan tells Luke over the comms to not let her leave. Beats me how he's supposed to do that when she has fucking mind control powers. Not that she needs them in this case when Luke is leaking soy like it's going out of style. He tries to talk to her, she walks right past him like he's invisible, introduces herself to Marcus, and strikes up a conversation in which the words Mr. C.E. Bro are uttered. No, I'm not joking. And Marcus is suspicious, but hey, Mary's hot, and for a straight man, that's all it takes, right? The funny thing is though, now that Marcus's heterosexuality has been exploited, you know what's about to happen to him. Hell, you could set your watch to it at this point. If you think he's not getting fridged by the end of the episode, then you must have a short memory. The only surprising thing is that they didn't go all the way with it and kill his sorry ass. Down in the Batcave, they're getting nowhere with the journals until Ryan has the bright idea to read them chronologically, starting from the date that Poison Ivy became a thing. Why that wasn't their first idea, I couldn't tell you. They find a journal entry about Poison Ivy wanting to destroy a dam and flood the city, and that triggers another flashback where Montoya comes home to find Pam packing her stuff, and she knows something is up with the dam and wants to know what Pam is planning. And Pam's plan is to stop Gotham from turning into a toxic waste dump by drowning a whole bunch of people. I'm not sure how those two things are related, but just go with it. So Renee has had it up to here with all this breaking the law stuff, and she wants Pam to choose between flooding the city and her. If I'm Renee, flooding the city and committing mass murder would have been a deal breaker if it was even on the table, but I guess we're just two different people, aren't we? Pam says that Renee will always come first with her, or something, but she needs Renee to trust that she knows what she's doing as she gets ready to murder thousands of people. Okay, so Renee makes out with her, but that's just a tease, so Renee can get close enough to inject Pam with the desiccation juice, and that's how she was defeated. What? You didn't think it was Batman who took Poison Ivy down, did you? You didn't think there was some big, exciting, climactic battle, did you? Get real. It was all Montoya. It was all about lesbianism. Bruce was a non-entity in all this. He was just the evil man Montoya sold her soul to and nothing more. Welcome to fucking Batwoman. So Pam's body goes all weird and desiccated, and it's meant to be super heartbreaking, but how the hell are we supposed to feel bad about this when, one, we never even saw them together before all this happened, and two, judging by this scene, they have about as much romantic chemistry as Sophie and Kate had. And if you're new here, that's this much. Back in the present, they start reiterating shit we already knew, that Bruce would have hidden Pam someplace where she wouldn't be exposed to water or sunlight. Then a light bulb goes on above Ryan's head, and she realizes that Bruce must have hid her in the Batcave, even though it was just 2 fucking episodes ago that Mary turned into Poison Ivy because she was exposed to sunlight in the Batcave. So Ryan suits up. There was a spare batsuit in there somewhere, I guess. She just starts looking around and randomly scanning stuff until she magically finds Pam. It's all very scientific. Then Sophie gets a fraud alert on her credit card. Just wait till you see what that's about. Back at the party, Mary's dancing with Marcus all sexy-like, while Luke pathetically watches from the sidelines like a twerp. He might as well be some pimply-faced freshman watching his high school crush dance with the captain of the football team who gives him swirlies after class every day. So Marcus asks Mary where Ryan is, just to drive home how fucking stupid he was for not recognizing Ryan earlier, and Mary doesn't really care, but she explains that she wants to use Marcus to get revenge on Ryan, and Marcus is pretty okay with being used like this, so she whispers something in his ear and gives him a flower that might open doors for him in the future. What does that mean? I couldn't give less of a shit. So Pam's body is hidden in the tunnels under the Batcave. Those are a thing now because the plot needs them to be, and she looks a lot better than someone who hasn't had a drink of water in 10 years probably should, but Ryan is still horrified that they want to do this to Mary, and still much prefers the option where Mary is left to run amok, cause chaos, and is free to murder as many people as she wants. Shut up, Ryan. Once again, Montoya has to tell Ryan to cut the shit, so they use the gizmo to suck the desiccation juice out of Pam, and then Ryan goes off to find Mary while Renee and Sophie stay behind in case the supervillain with mind control powers wakes up. That way, she could be immediately confronted by the woman who betrayed her and turned her into a desiccated corpse for 10 years. There's no way this can possibly backfire. Then, at the party, Marcus captures Luke, and also he knows that Luke is Batwing. Thanks for coming, Luke. Back in the tunnels, this was surprising, Montoya actually owns up to her role in letting Alice escape, and even Sophie admits that that was a pretty dumb move on her part. And I appreciate them acknowledging this, but it's pretty much forgotten after this scene anyway, so who gives a rat's ass? Then, Sophie realizes that whoever stole her credit card bought a huge cheesecake and had it sent to a hotel room. And I'm not sure what's stupider, that Sophie somehow went this whole time without knowing that her credit card was stolen, or that Alice is going through this whole dog and pony show to get Sophie's attention instead of just, calling her. So Sophie goes to check this out. She kicks in the door to the hotel room. Sure enough, there's Alice just sitting there eating cheesecake waiting for her to show up. And it turns out that Sophie was so nice to let Alice crash on her couch that Alice wanted to return the favor. Just out of the goodness of her heart, because that's something Alice would do. So she reveals that Montoya has been playing them this whole time. And she knows this because Montoya was a fucking dumbass and left the extremely untrustworthy psychotic mass murderer alone in her office one time, giving Alice the chance to snoop around and find some super incriminating stuff. Well, that could be something, I guess. But does Sophie apprehend Alice before she looks into this? So Alice can't escape again, thus making amends for Sophie being responsible for Alice escaping in the first place? Go f*** yourself, what do you think? Back at the Wayne building, Mary walks out onto the roof because that's what was in the script, and she's immediately confronted by Batwoman. How did Ryan know where to find her? Because that's also what was in the script. Ryan almost injects Mary with the desiccation juice, but then doesn't because the plot won't let her, and then Marcus walks out with Luke at gunpoint. Wow, I am so glad that we got Luke away from the Batwing suit, aren't you? Those 7 episodes when the character occasionally got to be useful for a change were a slog. Thank God we're done with that. It's at this point Mary reveals that she told Marcus everything. And Ryan's like, Mary, how could you? I know, right? I mean, it's almost as if Mary is not in her right mind or something. Who would have thought that her going through the same thing that turned Pam Isley into a supervillain would have done that? I'm as shocked as you are. So Marcus rants and raves about how he always wondered why the Joker buzzed him out of all those kids on the bus that day, but now he finally gets it. It was because Batman had the Joker and Batwoman has him. So it was like destiny or some shit. And you've gotta trust destiny, which is a pathetically ham-fisted way to justify the title of this episode, but at least it's almost over. But Ryan says they make their own destiny. So when Marcus tries to shoot Luke in the head, Ryan throws the gizmo at him, which injects Marcus with the desiccation juice, and then her and Luke proceed to stand there and stick their thumbs up their asses while Mary runs away. They could just suck the juice out of Marcus, chase after Mary, and inject her with it, which was the plan from the start. There's nothing stopping them from doing this, but they don't. Because if they did, the story would be over and the writers would have to think of something else to make me want to open a vein with my teeth this season. Mary goes back to the hotel. They could have just followed her there, but no, that's not a thing. And Alice is there too. Because you see, Sophie didn't apprehend her. Didn't take Alice with her. Didn't knock Alice unconscious or call the police and tell them where Alice is. Didn't alert hotel security that there's a psychotic mass murderer in room number whatever the so they could evacuate all the innocent people in the building. No. Because hashtag Sophie sucks at everything. She just handcuffed Alice to the bed and f***ed off. So getting out of those cuffs took Alice about 30 seconds. Great job, Sophie, dumbass. And now Mary's all despondent because Ryan used the serum on Marcus instead of her, meaning that in this moment, Mary was the least of Ryan's problems. Great, now I'm jealous of Ryan. Kill me. And that just sucks, because Mary really wanted Ryan to see her as powerful. So now, because she has nothing else to complain about, Mary is whining that Ryan did not turn her into a desiccated corpse. Writers, in all seriousness, why are we trying to save this bitch? Is there really anything in her worth saving? Whether she's a good guy or a villain, what the difference is there? Either way, she's the same obnoxious, insufferable, self-absorbed piece of human trash who tries to make everything all about her. Aside from taking away the plant powers, would fixing her really change that much? Think about it. So Alice points out that since she's been babysitting Poison Mary, she hasn't had any hallucinations. So being with Mary has somehow made Alice less crazy, because that sure is how mental health works, and if that's not powerful, I don't know what is. Then Alice gives Mary a big hug, because validation for being a deranged psychopath is what Mary desperately needed right now. Can we please just wrap this up already? Down in the tunnels, Montoya talks to Pam's corpse, saying that she's sorry. She's sorry every day that she wakes up to a badge and not to her. Alright, Renee, Number one, you don't have a badge because you're not a cop anymore, remember? Number two, you feeling sorry about stopping a super criminal from threatening the lives of thousands of innocent people is a really bad look for a character we're meant to feel sympathy for. But hey, who cares about innocent lives, right? Who cares about morals or justice or doing the right thing? Or even the sane thing? All that shit is meaningless. Because as with everything else on this godforsaken shit show, at the end of the day, the only thing that really matters is lesbianism. So, as if it were on cue, as she's confessing this, a flower blooms out of the dried vines covering Pam. Renee thinks that Pam can hear her, so she kisses Pam, and Pam's eyes open. Cut to Montoya's office, where Sophie is rooting around in a file cabinet where Alice told her to look, and she discovers something shocking. Cut to Ryan and Luke dropping Marcus's body off at the illegal underground abortion clinic, even though there's nobody working there anymore. Ryan calls Jada and tells her that if she's still looking for a way to fix her son's brain, she'd better find it quick. I feel like Jada would probably need to have Marcus examined before she could do that, but okay. Then Sophie calls them and says that Montoya had the Joker's joy buzzer this entire time, meaning that she was never going to let Alice go free at all. I failed to see how that's a bad thing. And she was just holding it over their heads until she got what she wanted. And the episode finally ends, thank Christ, as we cut back to the tunnels and see that Montoya and Poison Ivy are gone. Gee, I wonder what they're gonna do now. Well, here's a development so shocking it's guaranteed to knock you on your ass. This episode was bad. It's hard to imagine a more underwhelming, uninspired, or downright incompetent debut for Poison Ivy. Before the season started, they did this big press release about how they were casting Bridget Regan to play this iconic character, and the few people who are still watching were excited about this because that is actually really good casting. And Bridget Regan is a great actress. She's got a lot of range, she's really good at action scenes, and she fits the character. Not that it matters, because to the surprise of absolutely no one, she's utterly wasted here. And that sucks, because with a halfway decent script, I have no doubt Bridget Regan could have knocked this out of the park, but she never even gets a chance to bat. Any potential she might have brought to Poison Ivy is thrown out faster than you can blink. Anything interesting about the character's history is ignored. She doesn't do anything big or cool, gets no fight scenes or big set pieces or even any material to sink her teeth into. All she's there for is this tepid, boring, got no chemistry, got no budget, snooze-fest lesbian love story with Montoya. All her scenes except for one are just them talking in their apartment about stuff that happened off-screen. Montoya weirdly doesn't act that upset about the supposed love of her life turning into a madwoman eco-terrorist, and the relationship itself is DOA because we never even saw them when they were happy together. It was introduced to us as something toxic, so we the audience have no reason to care about it, and Montoya being unable to let it go just makes Montoya look like an irrational jackass. So I guess the old saying is true, Caroline Dries. You are what you write. And everything else in the episode was hot garbage too. Ryan seems to be under the impression that Mary's fee-fees are more important than the lives of every innocent person she might put in danger. Luke is back to being a useless lump whose only role is to make the women look more cool by comparison. Marcus does practically nothing and then gets fridged right after being shown to be straight when they did all this build-up to him being a major new villain, which amounts to nothing. Sophie is still the biggest f***ing idiot this side of Team Flash, so overall, Batwoman's big return from hiatus was exactly what I expected it to be. 5 more episodes to go. Just 5 more. Good God, I don't know if I'm gonna make it. But if you want to give me the boost I need to finish this season out, leave a comment to help me fight back the algorithm, ding the bell icon, and follow my social media so you can always be notified about new videos. I've gotten messages recently from people who say they haven't been getting the notifications because YouTube is being a jerk, so the best way to get notified when I upload new stuff is to follow me on Twitter. I also have a live streaming channel, links to everything are in the description box. And also, don't forget to like the video, share, subscribe, make sure you're still subscribed, and I'll be back with more very soon. So stay tuned for that, do all the YouTube things, and I'll see you next time.